Good morning. Thank you. My name is Walter McDougall. I am the Alloy Anson Professor of International Relations at the University of Pennsylvania, and I have the distinct, genuine honor to be the co-chair of FPRI's W. Keene Butcher History Institute, of which this weekend is our 49th iteration, over 21 years. We have therefore reached the humble conclusion that we must be doing something right. On behalf of Alan Luxembourg, the president of the FPRI, and all of our scholars and staff, I welcome you to what I promise will be an exciting, a little bit exhausting weekend on a topic that could not be more timely: the invention of the Middle East after World War I and the reinvention of the Middle East post-Arab Spring. I'm also pleased to be the third one to welcome you to the historic and rather handsome, surprisingly handsome city of Pittsburgh, for which we at FPRI have to thank our gracious hosts, Steve Bullock of the Heinz Center and Steve Sokol of the World Affairs Council of Pittsburgh. It was exactly 1 year ago today, or this week, that we made our first visit to the Heinz Center in a conference that happened to coincide with the arrival of Superstorm Sandy on the East Coast, which caused no little anxiety about many of our travel plans home. This year, I'm happy to say the weather report is benign. We do, however, have daylight savings time to cope with tonight. Also last year, one very important person could not attend because Tally Helfont, the director of FPRI's program on the Middle East and the chief organizer of the conference, had more pressing business, to wit, the birth of her first baby. I'm very happy to report that Tally is with us this year. Well, we have a jam-packed, all-star lineup of speakers, so I will not presume to make any introductory remarks, except to quote from a Walt Disney comic book and a New York Times column. The comic was dated 1961 by the incomparable Carl Barks, and it tells of another globe-trotting adventure featuring the impossibly wealthy Scrooge McDuck, his nephew Donald Duck, and his nephews Huey, Dewey, and Louie. They are exploring Iran, Persia, so that Scrooge can tour his new oil pipelines. The kids ask lots of questions about that fabled country, to which Uncle Scrooge can reply only, "Nobody knows. Nobody knows much about anything about Persia. This is a land of mystery, boys, a place in which ye should never believe more than half of what ye see, and still less of what ye hear." Well, we could denounce that as a kind of an Orientalist throwback, but in fact it was remarkably insightful, as many Iranian experts have confirmed to me. The New York Times column was written in 1991, 30 years later, just as the Cold War was ending and the first Gulf War began. The author observed the following: until the 20th century, nobody talked about the Middle East because neither the term nor the states in the region existed. Both were the work of the victors in World War I, the true begetters of the furies that still rage. The term Middle East was coined only in 1901 by Admiral Alfred Thayer Mahan, the celebrated American advocate of naval power. It was popularized in speeches in 1916 by Sir Mark Sykes, a British member of Parliament and part-time diplomat, who also negotiated the secret Sykes-Picot Agreement, which defined spheres of influence in the soon-to-be partitioned Ottoman Empire. The initial designer of the Middle East was Britain's redoubtable war minister, Lord Kitchener, who proposed indirect colonial hegemony, relying on indigenous kings and emirs to carry out British wishes. His expansionist aims were eagerly taken up by a new British Prime Minister, David Lloyd George. Liberating oppressed peoples in the rotting Ottoman Empire was emotionally appealing to the Welsh liberal. So too was the Zionist dream of restoring Jews to their ancient homeland. The new states, however, were less nations than swirling eddies of discontented peoples who generally despised their Western overlords. British rule in the Middle East became a holding operation, ending in piecemeal retreat. Hence, the gloomy words of Woodrow Wilson's personal advisor at the Paris Peace Conference, Colonel Edward House, proved to be prescient. They are making a breeding place for future war. Those two quotes, I'm afraid, set the tone for past Western pretensions to manipulate the Middle East with little or no regard to the realities of the mentalities of the localities. Let us hope our future policies are better informed, for instance, by heeding the insights of our erudite panel.